I try and open the door. He has the nerve to say, "Where have you been? I've been waiting for you." As he has beads of sweat on his forehead. Hey beautiful, welcome back to my channel. And if you're new, hi, my name is Alexisjayda and welcome. Today's notification shout out goes to Sin. Thank you so much for your comment, your love and support. It seriously means so much to me. When you guys leave comments like this, it seriously makes me feel like, oh my God, I love the community that we are building. We finally have a space where we can all heal together, and it just makes me feel so like, you know, like it just makes me feel so freaking happy that like we understand each other. Because like for so long I felt so misunderstood. I felt like no one was going through what I was going through, and if they were, it was something that like you don't speak about at all. And it's just so amazing that I get to share my stories with you guys, and you guys get to share yours with me, and we can sit down and just vent with each other. So I want to say thank you guys so much for your guys' kind comments and for allowing me to do my story times. If you guys want to be part of the notification squad, all you have to do is just like the video, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell, and leave a comment down below so you can possibly be my next notification shout out. Boom. Y'all, I found the Stitch collection. So freaking excited, you guys. I found like mostly all the goodies. Like there isn't something that I didn't find. Look. I'm so freaking happy. If you guys don't know, Stitch was like one of my favorites to watch. It's like a comfort movie for me, and I just love it. Like I'm obsessed with it. We always say like Ohana means family. Family means no one gets left behind or forgotten unless they're a piece of shit. So yeah, I found it and I'm so excited to do a video. You guys are all tagging me like, "Hey Lex, it's at Walmart, go." And then one of the days that I went, it wasn't there. And then I was like, okay, I'm gonna go the next day. I went and we found it. So I was like, yes. I'm so freaking stoked. Y'all have no idea. The brushes were a little expensive, I'm not gonna lie. I was like, what the fuck? But do you have a Lilo and Stitch brush? No. So it's like, okay, I had to get it, you know? And then the sponge, and then it has like the cute little surfboard so that you can clean your sponge, and then it has Stitch imprinted, which I really like that, because there's some where it's like they have the sponge and then they just have like the logo on the packaging, and you take the sponge out and there's like no logo on the sponge, and you're like, what the is this? So I like that Stitch is in here. So when I use it, I'm like, that's the Stitch one. Ah, I'm so happy. Okay, so we are gonna be getting into the story time. Sit back, relax. Let me know what you guys are doing. If you guys are driving anywhere, if you guys are cooking anything, if you guys are working. Where are you working at? Just let me know the achievement down below. I would love to know. I love reading your guys' comments. I'm sorry I don't get to reply all the time, but I really do enjoy reading your guys' comments. I do see them and I really greatly appreciate it. I am currently trying to write a book. I think I will share one of the papers with you guys, and you guys let me know like this is good or not, because I feel like I second guess it a lot, where I'm like, this is too much, or this. I feel like I am very oversharing, and I feel like sometimes I reveal too much, where it's like TW, you know what I'm saying? So if you guys can help me with that, I would greatly appreciate it. So sit back, relax, and let's get into it. You know what they should have came out with? A mirror. That would have been so cute. Like a mirror with Lilo and Stitch. I would have loved to get it. As Mr. Peach and me are driving home, I am feeling like a headache's coming on. And you guys would think that like, oh yeah, duh, Lex, it's because like you just got like your shit rocked, right? No, I was like really thinking like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm giving myself a headache over these people. No. You got a headache because you got your ass beat, okay? Not because you're stressing about them. But it took me a minute to really realize, like I was really sitting there with this like migraine, and I was kind of getting annoyed with myself. Like, why do you care so much about what they do? Like you're over here getting a freaking headache because you're stressing, and there's no need to be stressing. Before we stop home, he asks me like, hey, we're gonna stop here, is it okay? Like, you wanna wait in the car, you wanna get out? I'm like, I'll wait in the car. And he's like, okay, great. He gets off, he does his shopping, and I'm sitting there, AC going, and I am just still like, why do I care so much about them? Like, why am I worried about them fighting. So as I'm sitting there, I start to message the ex, and I'm still going off. I'm still going off. I still want to fight because it felt like I had no control. Like, he still left, you know? And sometimes you just want to be able to control things, especially when, you know it's going to hurt. And I know that he was going to pick her up. I didn't want him to. I literally wanted to be like, I want to stop time because I don't want this to happen, and I'm going to stop him. And I feel like I did not have control of anything in my life, but I really wanted to be able to control how he hurt me, because he hurt me so often that I wish I could put a pause on it because it was just too much. But I still wanted and craved that what I had with him, but I just didn't want the pain. Like, I want to be able to pause the pain and continue everything else, you know what I mean? And it sucked because I remember at times where I felt, I did. I felt like so, like I had anger issues because I wanted it my way. Like, I literally wanted to throw a fit, cry, roll around in the dirt because I wanted it to be my way. Like, I didn't want to be her anymore. Like, damn it, why can't you just treat me right? Why can't you just be how I want you to be? Like, why do you gotta be a piece of shit? And it literally, like, I literally in my head was like throwing these fits, rolling around in the dirt. Like, I wanted to explode, but I knew that I couldn't. I wanted to fight so bad because I was really upset with what was going on, and I wanted to just control everything. And I know I couldn't act like that because I knew if I were to act like that, it wouldn't be the same outcome of seeing someone else act like that. I feel like I got to see a lot of people act crazy and stupid, but I could never act crazy and stupid because I had consequences. And it really, really sucked. Like, I remember like losing my shit a couple of times, and I remember like my mom beating my ass. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, what makes you think you can act like this? But it's like, you can act like this. Everybody else can act like this, but like, God forbid the child act like this. Oh Lord. Like, I felt like I wanted to just have the same privilege as everyone else, but I feel like no, you just can't because you're you, and it's just, it won't be excused. It will not be tolerated. And it really sucked, you guys, to feel like that. I even have that feeling sometimes too, where, you know, when me and my mom stopped talking to each other for a little bit, well, it was a lot of it, and I really wanted to just fight with her and be like, what the why? Like, why do you act like this with me? And it sucks because me and my mom, we do bump heads a lot. And thank you guys so much for all the feedback that you guys gave me on how to approach, you know, conversation with my mother. Maybe we should take therapy and stuff like that together. I don't know how. We would probably have to do something virtual because she's in Texas and I'm in Utah. But even when we went to go visit, we got in a few arguments, and it sucked because there was one in particular. I'm not ready to talk about it. I know it's really annoying when someone does that, like, oh, I'm gonna tell you everything but not everything. There was one in particular argument that we fought about, and it brought me back to little Lex, and I was crying to my husband because she was so close. Like, she was in the other room, and I literally just wanted to go in there and just like flip everything, and not fight with my mom, but I wanted to like ruin her shit because I felt like, you don't care about me, you don't care about my feelings, I'm gonna ruin everything in here because that's what you care about, you know? And my brother got to act out, you know, like, he got to hella act out. And my mom was right there, like, trying to talk to me about like, oh, it's because, like, she was excusing his behavior. I was so livid, y'all. Because if I would have done that, if I would have acted up like that, we wouldn't have talked. Because my mom didn't talk to me for like 2 days when we got into our argument out there. But what my brother did, I'm like, whoa, like, what the hell? Like, it really makes me mad. It really, really, really makes me mad. And y'all don't even understand like how much anger like I still have. And like sometimes I try to fool myself and I'm like, I'm good. Because at times like I am, but like when I talk about things, I'm like, I'm not, you know? And so like, I don't even know if I'm ready even to have therapy with her because I feel like my mom is really stubborn and I feel like she'll just be like, all right, then like, don't come around me then, you know? And it sucks because I do want that relationship with her. Like, I do want to be able to like call on her and stuff, but it just sucks because It's so complicated. I did not think I was gonna cry so early in the freaking video, y'all. But yeah, I just feel like I want to be able to explode and not have consequences. You know how dumb that sounds? But I really am like, what the heck? So still arguing with him and I'm still upset, and it feels like Mr. Peach takes forever. And right away my mental goes to like, this dude is probably just walking around doing nothing, trying to cool down because he was sweating. Like, I'm telling you, beads of sweat. Like, he was sweating, he was working, he was sweating. And the ex is still not replying. I'm telling him everything up and down, calling him out of his name. I even start to insult his mom because I feel like as soon as I start insulting his mommy, he tends to like call and respond, "No, talk about my mom like that." And yeah, so I wasn't getting no response. I was calling him and it kept going to voicemail. So I was like, yeah, he still has it off. I was so annoyed because I was so okay with insulting him telling me like, hey, I'm gonna talk to you in person, and like we would make up. You know, I wanted him to choose me so bad, and it is not okay to be in a toxic relationship like that, you guys. Even when I see toxic relationships on TikTok, I'm always the one commenting, you deserve better, you'll know your worth, and like try to give encouragement, because it is so hard when it almost feels like bruja, like it's like, what kind of like a weird witchcraft shit do you do? Because you, even though you feel pathetic, you cannot stop. It is so weird. And I came across this TikTok where this girl said, what was like the thing that like did it, and you're like, and disgusted. And sometimes some of us need that, and sometimes it's just like, it'll just accumulate, and then one day you'll just be like, I'm done. Because like my tolerance for bullshit is probably like this high. Your tolerance for bullshit is probably like this high. And some people don't even tolerate it. It's like, get the out, you know? So it's just, you gotta give yourself patience, and I gotta remember that, because there's so much that I'll even talk to like my siblings about, because they know a lot of like what went on, and like my mom too, and I'll be like, what the and I get so upset because I really feel like I've lived so many lives. And it really trips me out that I tolerated so much, and I'm barely starting to be like, I'm gonna have another birthday. I'm like barely starting to be like, no. And I even feel weird saying that. Like, it's work. So don't compare yourself to others, and at the same time, just give yourself patience, because what works for me might not work for you, or vice versa, you know? So, sorry guys, I keep sidetracking a lot. But anyways, so I don't get a response, and I just decide to turn off my phone, because I'm like, oh, you're not going to get a hold of me either. He don't give a fuck. So, turn off my phone, and I just sit back, and I'm like, God, like this headache won't go away. And so as I'm going like that, you know, like, oh, like, and I have a bola. Then it just clicks where I'm like, that's why you have a headache, you dumbass. Like, you got a big ass freaking, like, you got a knot on your head. So I'm like, damn, he hit me hard. So like, little Lex is like pissed off, like, this mother, he gave me a knot. So like, I'm now upset. Turn my phone back on, and I'm like, you little bitch, like, you think you're cool putting your hands on me, like, you think like you're so bad, like, save that energy for like so and so. Because this dude would get so punked so often where like he wouldn't do nothing. He was like a little chihuahua, just like with everybody else, like, but with me, he would be like putting his hands on me. So I was pissed. I was like, you got the balls to put your hands on me and do this to me, but when so-and-so was up in your face, you didn't do nothing. Or when so-and-so was pulling your cockroach banks, you didn't do nothing. And so like, I was pissed, like, you know, just bring everything up, so mad. Hit send. As soon as I hit send, I was like, oh my God, I shouldn't have done that, because I was so mad. Like, so mad. Like, y'all, I felt like it was just like, it was a knot. Like, I like, and I feel like it was growing, where I was like, oh my God. Then you guys know my paranoid ass, where I was like, am I gonna die? Because it was a big ass goose egg, and I was like, oh my God. So I was kind of like getting nervous and stuff. Turn my phone off again, because I was like, I just called him out in all kinds of like, you know, ways, and he probably gonna call me back, and I'm not gonna want him to pick me up. He wasn't gonna pick you up. He was gonna pick you up. He was gonna cuss you out. A knock on the door, and it's Mr. Peach, and he wants me to unlock the doors. He unlocks the doors, and he gets in. He don't have anything but one bag, and I'm like, he went to go cool down. Like, honestly, that's I think what he did. Or he was probably on the phone talking to Baltimore, I don't know, getting their story straight. I don't know. But that's where my mind goes. And that, to me, I hate that my mind thinks so much like that, even when I was a child, because I feel like it's so toxic. Like, how can someone so young think so toxic? And it's just crazy. And I feel like I do that now, where I overanalyze every single little thing. Every single little thing. And if I get done dirty, then I'm like, okay, I overanalyze everything. We're like, oh, was that a compliment, or was she being funny? Was he, you know, insinuating this, or was he just giving a compliment? Or like, did she say this, or was she asking for a favor? Is like everything I'm overanalyzing. Like, what's the motive? Like, always. I feel like it's so like, ugh, and I'm trying so hard to get better at it, because I don't want to be like that. It's so exhausting, y'all. Like, even though like I get a good amount of sleep, I feel so exhausted because my mind is constantly just like, feels like it's just on go mode, like all the time. So yeah, it's just exhausting, and in a way where I'm upset, I kind of want to fight with him too. So I kind of like have an attitude when he gets in the car and he like asks me like, are you okay? I'm like, because I'm just like, what the ex is doing to me, that's what you're doing to Mrs. Peach. And even if she knows about you guys like Timothy Hine, why do you gotta put the kids in it? Like, why do I gotta be involved? Why does Sam gotta be involved? So I'm like getting mad, you guys. And I was getting kind of scared because I was really feeling like this was it. I'm going to snap. This is it. Like, I'm really going to like lose my shit. And I was even more mad because like, this isn't even my family. My mom's locked up. I don't even got a dad. And like, where are my brothers? They're with my freaking stepfather who hurt me. And like, why does no one care? Why does no one care? And I feel like I have gone through like so much already. So I feel like I was boiling. That's what it honestly felt like. I was boiling and everything was coming to the top, and I feel like it was just gonna take one thing to set me off. And I really hated that I felt like that. So like, I just wanted to be left alone. But it's like, how can you be left alone when you work for them, and like, you don't got a room to go to, you don't got no one to cry to, you don't got your own space? Like, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? And so I started thinking like really bad, you know, where I was just like, this ain't even worth it. Like, I don't want to be here right now. And I would still get scared having that thought, because like, that is like the ultimate punishment, right? And so I just remember him talking, and I could just hear like him muffled, because I was in my own brain and I was fighting myself. I was so angry. I was like, why? Like, why can't I just be freaking loved? Like, I give this dude and let him do whatever to my body, and he just spits on me. Like, why? Like, I give everything to this family. I'm so nice, and like, I freaking, you know, play like fake with them, whatever. Like, their kids are good. Why? Like, I was just so freaking angry. It makes me mad because people always want to, you know, give you that speech of like, I'll always be there for you if anything ever. No, that is such a lie. That is such a lie. Like, where is my family? Where's the family that would come over and drink with my mom? Where's my godmother that baptized me? Like, me baptizing my godson, I'm taking that literal. Even if me and his mom ever have a falling out, I would hope she would let me still, you know, take care of him and like check up on him. Like, I feel like people just want to have titles nowadays, but don't want to take the responsibility that comes with it. Y'all just fake as fuck. So I literally felt like it was just like a wave of just literally everything rushing in. But at the same time, I knew I couldn't act out because there would be consequence. They would be like, we have our kids, you're weird, you're not our problem, like, what are you doing? Like, I knew that I could not. And it was such like a weird mind thing, because I was like, okay, like, I know I can't act out, so like, why are you having these feelings? Like, why are you acting like this? Like, you know, you can't go from 0 to 100 with these people, or in general, or express your feelings. So why are you even thinking that like it's an option? Like, why are we wasting time thinking about this? And so I was just literally like in my head, like, like making face expressions, looking crazy because I was mad, you guys. Like, I don't know how to explain it. I was hot. I think honestly I was just overstimulated. Yeah, hell yeah. I think that's just what it was. I was just done. You think, some people think like just because you're a child, like, oh, like what could you possibly go through? Like, it's not that big of a deal. Like, adults have it hard. Nah, kids have it hard too. And I think that we just think, like, I think that we think just because like, well, like older generation, they think like, oh, well, I had it tough and I never could express my feelings, or I, like, my parents didn't give me time to express this or express that. Like, I gotta pass that trauma down to you too, and not let you, you know, vent or talk about your feelings or anything like that. And they have this mentality of like, you're a child, there's nothing for you to even worry about. Life is not hard. Even if you did go through some shit, you'll be all right because you're a child and you still got all this life to live. It'll get better. But it's like, so what, bitch? I'm still hurting now. The trauma is happening now, not my adulthood. Like, and I think they say like, you can worry about that shit, like, you know, whatever, act out when you're an adult, because they don't gotta deal with you. They don't gotta deal with your emotions. And I honestly think that's what it is. Like, maybe they'll deal with them for like a day or two, but like, they don't want what they're already dealing with on top of like the trauma that you're going through. So they'd rather just like shun your shit, put it to the side, because they don't even want to deal with that. They're like, I didn't get to do all that. I didn't get to talk about my feelings. Like, you know, my mom and dad, or my grandma, whatever. So like, either do you. Like, that's what they told me. And I honestly think that's like how they do things, because I'm starting to see like a pattern with like my family where I'm like, this is like, that's why this and that's why this. And like, sometimes when I do catch myself sounding like my mom, I put myself in timeout, because I don't want that. Like, I love my mom and everything. I don't like sounding like her. Even sometimes when I come off like sounding harsh, I put myself in timeout because I don't like it. And like, I've told my husband and stuff, like, I don't like hearing how I sound like her sometimes, because it just like, it sets me back. And I didn't like being talked to like that as a child. Like, I don't want to sound like her talking to like my kids or like to like another adult. Like, I just don't like that. Or like my grandma can be very, she wants to call it blunt, but very rude. And like, sometimes it's just like, it's not needed. Like, we can, like, it's okay to take time to like walk away and then come back and talk. But I feel like I didn't really see that. I always just saw like boom, 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 like just like immediate reaction. And it's okay to like walk away and then come back and we'll talk it and hash it out. You know what I mean? And like, people think like, oh, that's just corny. That's just weird. It's not. Like, why isn't the other shit corny or weird? Like, why is this way corny and weird? Like, why, like, we need to like start breaking how we do it, because obviously it didn't help with like our parents and like their parents. Like, let's do different, because we gotta make living for our babies and us like good. Because when I look back, or like even now, like, they're still miserable. I don't want to be miserable. I want to be happy. And that's if me talking about my trauma, which I thank you guys so much for allowing me to, and work through it and stuff, you know what I mean? Because I don't want to be like my mother's age or my grandmother's age, mad. And like, there's times where like my grandma will go on like a ranting and I'll hear her out and listen to her, and I'm like, because nobody listened to her when she would go through all these things when she was younger, because they were so quick to be like, shh, you know, talk about that, it don't matter, you know. So whenever she gets on her rants and stuff, like, I hear her out, because I'm like, no one listened to them. No one, you know, like, no one listened to like my mother, no one listened to my grandmother. So like, whenever I can, I listen, because it's just like, maybe that's why like they are the way they are. Maybe that's why like they're so unhappy at times, is because like they don't get to express themselves. And maybe that's why sometimes our elders are kind of like rude to us, because it can sometimes come across as like envy, jealousy, because we do things different, and they're like, what, you have to go and walk through all those rocks like I did. But we're like, why? Like, why can't we go this way and we can like not hurt ourselves? And like, why do we have to suppress this? Like, why can't we talk? You know what I mean? So I feel like it's very hard for some parents when they see that their kids are doing better, or even siblings, because they're like, I had to suffer. But it's like, yeah, but like, let's do it this way, and like still want to bond. Am I even making sense? I hope I'm making sense. Anyways, little Lex was going through it in her head, and I didn't want to hear anything of anything. I was just like so livid, because why? So I snap out of like my thinking, because Mr. Peach puts his hand on my thigh and squeezes really, really hard. And it's sore. Because again, I'm like, oh yeah, that happened. So then I'm like, ow, like really ugly, like, like, oh my, ow, like just like an ugly face. And he's like, what? And I'm like telling him, I'm like, you what? Like, you touched me, I didn't touch you. So I kind of have like a little attitude, because it's like, excuse me, like, you touched me, I didn't touch you, you know? And he tells me like to like relate, like, why do you have such attitude? And I tell him, like, I'm thinking and then you touch me, like, I don't like being touched. And he's like, what, like, to relax and stuff, that he was just trying to get my attention, and that what was I thinking about? And I tell him, like, just stuff. And he's like, well, talk to me about it. I'm like, I don't want to talk to you about it. He's like, why not? And I tell him, because like it's girl stuff. And he's like, that's fine, you could talk to me about girl stuff. And I tell him, like, no, I don't feel comfortable. And I keep telling him, like, I don't feel comfortable. And he kind of gets like, at the time I thought like maybe it's his feelings hurt. No, it's not. It's weird when they're like, oh, my ego, or like, oh, this, like, they can't be told no. Like, I don't understand why like people can't be told no, and right away they want to be like be mean to you, you know, because they feel stupid. But it's like, just take it for what I'm saying, and like, don't touch me, you know? So he like tells me like, oh, you just have an attitude, you know what, since you have so much on your mind, like, I'll make sure to keep you busy today. And so I tell him, like, well, I don't even know if I'm gonna do anything today, because like my head hurts. Okay? And I'm like, my head hurts, like I have a headache. No, like, you still can do things in the house and stuff. Like, you have a headache because that's all you're doing is just thinking, and you know, you need to do stuff around the house. You're not busy enough. And I'm like, okay. I just say, okay. He's like, no, this is okay, I see. And I tell him, like, oh, all right. And he like tells me, like, Alexis, no, eh? And so I'm like, how do I move? So I'm getting kind of angry, and I start biting my lip. And he's like, why are you doing that? And I'm like, I don't know. He's like, so you don't know anything? And I'm like, no. He's like, ¿Qué traes? He's like, what is wrong with you? Like, talk to me. Like, tell me what's going on. And I tell him, like, why do you care? Like, why do you care? And he's like, what do you mean, why do I care? Like, you're living with us. We care about you. We're family. And I'm like, no, we're only family out of convenience. And he's like, don't say things like that. And I'm like, okay, well, that's how I feel. And so, like, we're bickering. And then we finally arrive home. And as we're getting out of the car, he like tells me and stuff that he doesn't want any drama, he doesn't want any problems, that if Miss Peach's asks and stuff, that he just picked me up. Sorry, I'm recording. Mrs. Peach asks me anything, that yeah, he picked me up, and that was that. And I tell him, like, I'm not going to lie to her. And I walk through the door, and he tries to pull me by my shirt, and he's like, okay. And I tell him, like, what? I'm like, what do you want me to say? I know, y'all, I know. Like, I was just really testing the waters. And Mrs. Peach happened to be right there. She's like, what's going on? And I tell her, I'm like, I'm just asking him, what did he want me to tell you? And then she's like, what? And then he's like, and like kind of just like pushes me. And then she like tells me and stuff, like, to hurry, put the stuff down, that I need to like help with some stuff. And I'm like, okay. So I start helping her with some stuff, and the whole time I could see that he's just like looking at me, and you could tell like he is pissed, because he's probably like, oh, she's gonna say too much, but they should have never put me in that situation. Like, if you're gonna cheat by yourself. Don't take your kids. Like, that's the most grimy. I'm not even his kid, but y'all know what I mean. Like, that's just grimy. Like, having other people involved is so grimy and slimy. Like, why you do that? I'll never understand that. I get to cleaning up. Mrs. Peach tells me that someone really close to her is visiting, and tries to give me a whole speech of they don't want no drama. And it made me really mad, because I'm like, I'm not the one who's doing the drama. Like, okay. Y'all, this smells really good. No drama between me and Sam or whoever, that like it needs to go really good, because this is someone that's like really close prima to her, and she doesn't want any drama at all, and like not to be airing our business. And I'm like, I don't feel good. Like, I just want to go lay down. And she's like, okay, like, that wasn't an option. It wasn't an option. Like, what are you talking about? Like, get it together. Take a pastilla, to take a pill, and then I'll feel better. And I'm like, okay, where are they? She's like, what? And I'm like, well, where are the pills? What? It took me like the third time where I'm like, oh, you want me to go buy my own? Okay, you don't want to oh, okay. So I was like, nada. And so I get to helping her clean. We're cleaning and stuff, and she goes on the phone and she's talking to I don't know who, saying, yeah, they're gonna be staying with them, I know, and that they have like some fun stuff planned and everything. And they're just like talking, you know, on the phone, like it's like whatever, you know. And I'm trying to listen, and she can catch that I'm trying to listen. She's like, you know, that pinche squinkla is like listening, like the little freaking brat is listening, and she's like laughing. She's like, no, they're just so nosy. They're just so nosy. Me and the kids, I guess. And so I'm trying to like play it off, but y'all, like my head was hurting so bad. Like I was becoming kind of like even with the kids, because like I'm like, my head hurts. Like it really hurt. Like I think my adrenaline was like coming down, and so like it was all coming. Like my legs were hurting, my freaking arms were hurting. He was like pulling me, yanking me, like everything was just like hurting. My body was like achy. I do what I'm supposed to, and there's like really nothing else to like really do. Like, so I tell her like, can I go upstairs and take a shower? And she's like on the phone still, and she kind of like you know. And so I'm like, okay. So I go upstairs, take a shower. I'm taking a shower, getting undressed. I see there's some bruising, turn my phone back on. I have no messages. He didn't message me back or anything like that. And I'm taking some pictures, and I sent it to him like, what you did, and you don't even care, like what kind of man are you? Just trying to like make him feel bad, but he don't care. Like you cannot make someone care. And if like all of a sudden you're leaving and then they care, it's just manipulation. They don't care, because they could have cared all along, and now all of a sudden they care, and we confuse it because we're like, oh, they do love me. No, it's just manipulation to get you back, because they go right back to acting how they were. And there's those very rare ones that actually do change and need that like wake up call, but it's like 1 out of 10 maybe. He still doesn't respond. I take a shower, and I take like a very long time. I'm just in there pretty much bawling my eyes out, because I'm like so pissed off that like, why? And so while I'm taking a shower, I get a phone call, and it's my mom, and she's asking me how everything is. I'm telling her like, yeah, everything's fine. I don't want to tell her about the altercation that me and what's his face got into, because I don't want to stress her out. I don't know if she just had like a bad feeling or what, but she was telling me that she wanted me to go back to Tommy's. And she's like, you know what, I got to thinking, and you should go back and stay at Tommy's until I'm out. I should be out next week. And I'm like, no, like I'm not going back to Tommy's. My mom's like, it's not a question, you're going back. And I tell her, I'm like, no, I'm not. And she's like, yeah, you are. And to, you know, to pack up and to let Tommy know. And I'm like, I'm not going back. So me and my mom start fighting, and I'm like having to be mean to her, because I'm like, you're locked up, I'm out here, I'm not gonna listen to you, like I'm not going to do that. And so she gets upset, and she starts yelling at me and telling me that I better or else, and that she was going to call the cops on the peaches and stuff, and that I better pack up and let Tommy know that she's like, you don't get to do whatever you want. And so I'm like, why do you have a wild hair up your ass? I'm not leaving. So I'm talking crazy in the restroom, like booty ass naked, like I'm not leaving. And so I hear a knock at the door. Is everything okay? And I'm like, yeah, everything's fine. And so my mom's like, don't make me call the cops, because I will. And I'm like, you would call the cops on me? Like, I thought you said you never call the cops on me. And so she's like, don't make it about that. So we're like fighting. She's telling me like to get ready, that Tommy's good, and that I need to go back. And I'm like, I don't care if you think Tommy's good, like I'm not gonna go back. And that it was drama. And she's like, yeah, there's drama there too, but I'd rather you be with Tommy. And I'm like, I'm not gonna be with Tommy. So going back and forth to the point where it's like, you have 1 minute. And I'm like, I'm not going. I hang up on my mom, y'all. I hang up on my mom, because I'm like, what the I don't know if she had like a feeling of like something's about to go down or what, but I was like, what the like, how are you gonna be calling shots from jail? Like, what? And I was just so confused, and it kind of like set me off in a way of like me feeling like something was going to happen, because it was just like so random. Like I wasn't telling her like any drama or anything, or I don't know, maybe like at that time. maybe she was thinking about the drama that I told her before, where she was like, I can't wait to beat their ass, and she was just sitting in there and she was just like marinating on it or what. But I was hot that like she was like, you're gonna go back. Like, it was so weird. And I felt like I was talking to her right, but she was like, nope, you're gonna go back. And she's like, it's true, I just let you do whatever you want. So I was like, I wonder who's talking in her ear or what, because it was probably Tommy, because it kind of irritated me, where I'm like, what? Like, what are you talking about? And I hated that my mom did that. Like, she would always listen to others when they would tell her like, you let that girl do too much. But like my mom didn't tell them like the full story of like why this and why that, you know? So they just thought like I was just some little ass kid calling shots. Like, I'm going here, I'm doing this. Like, no, tell them the full story. Tell them like why I don't like being at home with my stepdad. Tell them the full story, because these people literally think that I just don't want to be home and I have like a good environment, and I don't. Like, I remember this lady wanted to beat my ass. That was my mom's friend, because she just thought like I was just acting like a spoiled little shit and didn't want my mom to stay at my place, because I had a little spot when Andrew was born, and my mom wanted to stay there with her and her crackheaded friend. And I was like, no. And this bitch was like, what are you talking about? Like, she's your mom. And I really hated when crackheads would band together and like try to tell me something, because I'm like, I don't care. Like, I know y'all can't feel nothing right now, but I don't care. Like, I will protect me to the fullest and do what I gotta do. You know what I'm saying? And so I really hated when people would take up for my mom, but they wouldn't know the whole story. And I would literally have to sit there sometimes, especially when it was like men in my face, like, do you know the situation? Get the fuck out of my face. She did this, and they'd be like, well, I didn't know about all that. She didn't say all that. And I was like, okay, well, mind your business, you dumb fuck. Because she would just only give half, you know, and they would just be like, what? This like 14, 13-year-old over here just, you know, out and about by herself because she don't want to listen. And I would tell my mom, I'd be screaming at my mom, like, why don't you tell the full truth? Like, why don't you tell them about what kind of a mom you are? Like, tell them the full truth. And then some would be like old gangsters, you know, and they'd be like, it don't matter what she do. That's your mom. You know, you respect her. And I'd be like, shut the fuck up. I don't give a fuck. Like, because people really be just trying to get in another people's business, and it's like, mind your own. Because you don't know what the lady put me through. Just mind your own. I'm out here trying to survive, bitch, and you over here getting high with her. Don't tell me nothing. Like, how you gonna try to tell me anything when you over here stealing out of my spot with my mom? I remember when I had beer. I shouldn't have had beer, okay? But I had a beer, and my mom took it from me to go get drunk with her friends, and she was like, you're not even supposed to be drinking this anyways. And I was like, what? Like, she really tried to like parent me that way, and I was like, what? Like, I was just so annoyed, because I'm like, I don't think it works like that, but whatever. Like, you're so annoying. And that's what she would try to do a lot. She would always try to justify the things that she would do because she was my parent. But it's like, okay, then parent me and like do it the right way, not just like when you want to get something from me, right? I get out of the shower and I'm like mad because like my shower like got interrupted, and I was over here trying to sing in the shower like, go go chasing waterfalls, and now I gotta deal with my mama. Like, so I was really like just hot, y'all, and I felt it coming on. I felt it coming on where I was like, I'm going to snap, because it was just too much already. Like, it's too much already. Something got to give. Something got to give. And like I want to fight. So I start getting unknown caller for my phone, and so I was getting like, kind of like anxious. Like, oh, it's probably Tammy. Like, she's probably gonna be like, I'm gonna go get you this, and this. And I was really mad. Like, why do I gotta go over there? Like, they're not even people I want to be around, like, at all. Like, I'm not trying to fight her friends. I'm not trying to like, no. I already told you guys, like, I'd rather be like, the situation like staying with Tammy versus staying with the Peach is completely different. Like, even though this was like toxic over here, I'd rather deal with this kind of toxic than like Tommy's kind of toxic. Like, I feel like I was gonna get like rape type shit over there. So I'm like mad, like super mad, y'all. Like I just remember, like there's like some feelings that I guess I forget about, but when I do my story times, they bring them back, and I swear, I'm like, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Because I just want to be fighting everybody now. I just want to be like, what was your dealio? So I answered the call. I'm like, hello, and it happens to be Tommy. And she was like, hey, what's the address? Your mom told me to tell you to get ready. And I'm like, I'm not giving you my address. So I started getting attitude with her, and she was like, don't start your shit. You've been over there long enough. You had your way for a little bit. Like, you know, you can't be making these decisions. And I'm like, you're not even someone safe to be around. So me and her start fighting, and she's like, give them the address now before I give them, like, I call the police and give them their name and stuff, and like they search them up, and then we report you as a runaway. And I was like, do what you want to do, bitch. Like, you're not safe over there. Like, don't make me tell them that you have this. I'm not gonna put her business out there. But she was doing a lot of like stuff she's not supposed to. And she's like, you're gonna go there? And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go there. Like, you're gonna go there? And so she hangs up. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, I felt like it was war. Like, ooh, like there was things that I shouldn't have said, because there was a lot of things that I shouldn't have known, but I knew because like I was in grown folk business. So she was hot that like I threatened her with that. And so I felt kind of scared, like I'm not gonna lie, because it's like some things that I, again, shouldn't have known, but I did, you know, and it kind of like caught her off guard because only a few people knew certain stuff. And I was like, you're gonna call cops on me, bitch? We're gonna get locked up together. Like, okay. So I get ready, and then I go out. As I'm changing, Mrs. Peach tries to come to the door, and I'm like, oh, I'm changing. She's like, and I'm like, I'm changing. And so she still makes her way through, and I'm like literally trying to hold on to the towel, and she's like, oh my gosh, like we all have the same thing. I don't know if y'all remember, but the ex's sister would say that too, and like it just made me feel so weird, because like they did not respect boundaries at all. Like I feel like it would be a little bit different maybe if we were related, but like we weren't. And I always got like this weird pervy vibe from them. Like it was just like weird, because it wasn't like they were like doing what they had to. Like I feel like they were like doing what they had to, but like looked up and down, you know what I mean? So I really hated that, and I try not to judge too hard, because like my grandma, she'll like dress like in front of us, like it's nothing. But the thing is, I feel like that's my grandma. Like that is my grandma. These are people that like I just know, acquaintances, you know. So it was always like weird to me, and my grandma wouldn't be like looking at me, you know, but like these people like would be looking at me. Like it was just weird. Even if I was like in underwear, whatever, I just felt like they were just looking. When I had my bra and stuff, I always felt like their eyes go here. And even though I didn't have a lot, it was just like weird to me, because it's just like, what are you doing? Like that's not even like, you're not even being like slick about it. Like you're being a weirdo about it. Like look over there. Like it was just weird. So I didn't change while she was in there. I was still like just covered up. And she was like getting annoyed with me, like, oh my God, eres tan dramática. And I was like, okay. And she's like, no tienes nada. Like, so she starts trying to tell me like, you don't have nothing to look at. And I'm like, okay. And she's like, what happened there? And she like looks at my thigh, because I have like thumbprints where it looks like literally like thumbprints on my thighs, where like how hard he grabbed, but they're like not fully, like you can't see the bruise yet, but like he left like his mark, right? And I'm like, oh. She's like, did Mr. Peach do that? And I'm like, what? And I was like, no. And she's like, you could tell me, like serious. And I'm like, no, it wasn't him. She's like, then who? And I was like, not him. And I should have told her like, oh, the ex, whatever, but I didn't want to get him in trouble or anything like that, like if they would have said anything, but you know, still. So she finishes up, and she slams the drawer of like what she was getting, and she goes out. So I change, and as I'm changing, my phone's going off. Unknown caller, unknown caller, unknown caller. And I'm like tripping out, because I'm like, oh my God. So I finish getting ready, and I make my way downstairs. But before I do, Sam calls me into her room, and we haven't really been like interacting like at all. Like it's just been like I forgot she was there for a minute. Like I was like, what? I thought you got picked up. Like we not interacting. And she's like, hey, so what happened to like your thigh? And I'm like, what? So I get annoyed, because I'm like, damn, she really went and told Sam already, like the person that like I did not want to know any, like I didn't want her to know anything. So I'm like, what? And she's like, yeah, what happened to your thigh? And I'm like, mind your business. She's like, what? And I'm like, yeah, like mind your business. Like I don't know why you all of a sudden want to be up in my business. Like mind your business. And so me and her kind of just looking at each other, and I was really hoping that she would take my bait and fight me, because we both got some pent up anger, and you could take it all on me and I could take it all on you. Like on some 13 bullshit, we both, let's rock it. Like, cause of everything, y'all. I just wanted to get this anger out, and I'm mad that someone's blowing up my phone, calling me from an unknown number. So I go downstairs, and there's really like nothing else to do. Mrs. Peach is telling me that they are going to be arriving tomorrow, and that she wants everything good, and then if I want to go to sleep, that's fine. And Mr. Peach calls me, and he was like, why did you tell Mrs. Peach that I gave you the bruises on your thighs? And I'm like, I didn't say that. So I'm like very monotone. She's like, then what'd you say? And I'm like, that I said that you asked me, did he do that? And I said no. She's like, I didn't say it like that. I'm like, that's how you said it. And then he's like, why did you think I did it? So like they have like a little like staring contest going on, and she's like, you know, like I don't know. Like, so I guess the bitch forgot to talk for a second. And so he asks me like, so who did it? And I was like, I don't want to talk about it. And he's like, well, you need to tell us these things because people think it's me. So we kind of go back and forth of like, you know, this is your business, this is not your business. And he's like, well, you need to tell me like where they're like, who's doing that to you? And I'm like, for what? And then he's like, to know who it is. And I'm like, why do you care? And I should have said, so-and-so did it, but I was young and dumb, and I honestly felt like they just wanted to know who it was. Like, I don't think like they were gonna do anything to like rescue me, you know what I mean? Like, it didn't feel like that. So I was getting irritated, and I was like, can I just go to bed? And she's like, why don't you want to tell us? Like, why are you protecting this person, Alexis? And I got so mad, and I looked back at her, and I was like, I feel like I'm protecting a lot of secrets, so I'd really hope that you guys just leave me alone about it. Mrs. Peach and Mr. Peach just looked at me like, okay. And so I go upstairs, and I just knock out. And I kind of wake up here and there because my phone's like vibrating. You know how you can feel like that vibrating sensation, but I did not care. I was like, why am I gonna answer? Why? Just get chewed out by Tommy and her be like, I want you home. Like, that's weird. Like, leave me alone. Like, I've been over here for how long? And now all of a sudden, like, I don't understand. Like, is there like a welfare check that's gonna be happening or something? And like, so I was just like, what's going on? Like, or like what? Like, is it because like my mom didn't want to pick me up here? Like, she wasn't gonna have to see them. She didn't want to see them. Like, I was just going through like so many weird emotions where I was just like, what is it? Tell me what it is, because I just want to know like I just want to know the answers. Like, my husband always tells me like, you always want to know the why, and I'm like, yeah, like, why not? I want to know the why for everything. Like, there should be an answer for everything. And he gets so mad because I'm like, I want to know the why, but I don't feel like that's bad to want to know the why. Her and Noah, since they were little, they've always been going back and forth, and they always scream. So the next day I wake up, and I wake up to my phone vibrating. I answer it because I think it's Tommy, and I'm like, I'm gonna let her have it. This bitch. And I answer it, and I hear his voice, and immediately my heart goes. And he's like, why haven't you been answering? I've been calling you. Why you send me those photos? Now my mom thinks that I put my hands on you. I'm like, but you did. So the Peaches saw the bruises, and they kind of like put it together, and they're like, it's that boy. So I guess they went and cheesed me out, because that's all these people do is cheese me out. And he's like really trying to, like, you know when you're on speaker? You just know when you're on speaker. And if you don't, you need to learn so that you're careful if you need to be careful. But he was like, I didn't put my hands on you. You put your hands on me. And I was like, that's not what happened, and you know that. And so he was like, why are you talking crazy? Hella trying to talk to me like, oh, y'all. I was like, why are you talking like that? Like, why are you talking to me in that tone? Like, you know you don't talk to me in that tone. You know you, like, talk to me like you're yelling at me. You talk to me like if I'm stupid. Like, why are you trying to talk to me so calmly? Oh, my God. You see, this is why we can never, like, have a good relationship, because, like, when I do try, it's never enough. Like, holy shit. And I'm like, you put your hands on me. You punched me in my head. Like, you grabbed my arm. You were pushing my face. If you want to even be like, want to get more technical about it, you slapped the shit at me because you kept like going like that. You grabbed my thigh and you licked my face, and then you hear, okay. And then I go on mute. Like, they muted me. And so I don't know if his stupid bitch of a sister was listening, or like who was listening, but I went on mute. And then I get back off mute and say, that's not what happened. Can we talk about it? And I was like, no, I don't want to talk about it. And he was like, no, like we need to talk about it because now people are thinking, you know, bad and stuff and calling my mom. And my mom doesn't need any drama. I was like, oh yeah, God forbid your mom needs drama. You're right. And so he's like, can you not talk to me like that? So I was talking to him a little crazy because I forgot, like, okay, people are listening maybe. And so I forgot. So I was being kind of like mean and stuff. And he was like, can we just talk? And I'm like, for what? Like, for what? Like, what? And he's like, well, you're messaging me, so you want, you know, I know you wanted to talk to me. I was like, yeah, I was messaging you yesterday because I was hurt, but I'm fine. And he's like, no, like, I think we should talk. Like, can we please talk? And like, if I did hurt you by pushing you away when you were hitting me, and I'm like, that's not what happened. You know, that's not what happened. He's like, okay, well, whatever you believe that I did, can we say? I'm like, I'm not, like, it's not what I believe. It's what happened. It's literally what happened. And so he's like telling me like, okay, well, can I call you back? And I'm like, for what? And he's like, I'm just gonna call you back, okay? Like, I love you and I'm sorry if you think like I hurt you. I'm like, but you did. And click, it hangs up. And I'm like, what the f? So I start checking my voicemails, and Tommy's leaving me a few voicemails telling me that she is going to call the cops and she doesn't care if I'm threatening her, that I still cannot do whatever I want, that I cannot manipulate the situation and stay with whoever I want, that my mom made it so that I would stay with her and not the other ones, and to call her back. But it's like, bitch, how am I supposed to call you back if you call me back, if you called me private? How? Are you dumb? So I kind of just ignored it, and then I was like, you know what, like, whatever, like, I'm not gonna even worry about it. Like, what is really gonna happen? Like, if she really calls them on me, I'm gonna be a cop caller. I don't care. I do. So the day goes on and the guests arrive. Mrs. Peach is like being nice, but you could tell this is like her homie, you know? Like, you know how you have those cousins where it's like you gotta be like more like, well, she seemed like she was pretty alright with her. Like, it was just cool. She had 3 kids with her. She had a boy and she had 2 girls. The girls were around me and Sam's age. One was just feisty. Just feisty. Like, she like walked in like a her shit stink. She was like dressing grown, you know those girls. And where I have a bitch face, people automatically think like I'm trying to come off intimidating, but I'm not. Like, this is just my face. And I've gotten into so many fights, so many arguments, so many stare downs because of this mug. And people think that like I am intentionally like dogging them, and I'm thinking like I'm not like looking intimidating, but I feel weird if I smile all the time, like. And then sometimes I smile and the bitch don't smile back. So I just like try my hardest just to be like, but it's hard because I would get so much like, why do you make that stupid face? And it's like, it's my face, bitch. Like, what other face am I supposed to make? One of the daughters like, oh, hi, nice to meet you. Like, really nice. The other one's like, hey, like very like rude. And I'm like, hey, like, I'm gonna give the same energy back, bitch, and times 10. So they stay for a little while. They're just visiting. They wanted to see Mrs. Peach, you know, I don't know, I guess party or something, I don't know. So they're gonna be staying in the sala. And I was like, why are they gonna stay in the sala when there's rooms? So I'm like, oh, she probably don't trust her or something. Like, it was just weird. And I don't know, like, I never like really like thought like a lot, but I'm like, man, like if I had family, but everyone's always different, y'all. Like, not everyone's like the same. Not everyone wants people to be up in their business and like cosas así, right? So they're like, okay, let's get ready, we're gonna go out to eat. So I'm like, okay. So they asked me like, Alexis, you want to go? And I'm like, yeah. So weird when someone asks you, it could be both ways. Like, they want you to go, they want to be like, no thank you, but I wanted to go because I was hungry. Like, where I gotta go? Nowhere. We're getting ready, we're gonna go eat some pizza, and I go upstairs, get ready, and
She scratched up her leg.
how?
I don't know.
You fall in the grass, mama? I don't know, I feel like when people ask you, it's like, do they even want you to really go, or they're just hoping like you got plans? But I got nowhere to go, I wanted to go. So we all start getting ready. I go upstairs, and the girls, they go into Sam's room, and they're like talking, and I can hear that they're talking about me, and it's so I don't know if it's like my anxiety sometimes, but I feel like I'm not really liked right off the get. I feel like I have to work for people's likeness to like me. I don't know if that makes sense. So I can hear that they're like, oh, she has her own room, and Sam's like, yeah, she has her own room. She pretty much lives here, and they're kind of like laughing. My anxiety's like going up because I'm like, they're probably like, what? And we have to sleep in the salon? Like, what the? And so they're like him and hawing together, and I'm just like literally like by the door like listening, because it's so weird, y'all, for me to like make friends like right off the jump. It's just hard for me. I don't know why. Like anytime, like even when I went into like cosmetology, it was so hard to click with other girls. And even when I clicked with a certain like group and stuff, like I was left out. And I don't know why. I think it's because like maybe like I don't like rub people right or something. But like, or maybe because like I don't do the activities that they were doing, and so they were kind of like, why do you want to like hang out, you know, like someone who hangs out with people who's sober, that hangs out with people who like to drink, they're just like, why are you here, you know? So it's always been like that. Even at school, it took me like a while to make friends, and it's just like really hard for me. I don't know why, but like once I do make like that friendship, like I feel like it's really fun. But it really is hard. Like it's so weird. I hate that I get like that. So I'm kind of like just listening by the door, because I'm like what's going on? Like I want to know what they're saying. And I guess Sam could see like my shadow or something, I don't know. And I hear the door close, and you can just hear them like giggling and laughing, and I was just like, oh, like I felt so stupid, like like why am I gonna go? Like you're weird. Feeling sad for myself. Like I just felt like this is just like awkward, right? So I'm like waiting, like when should I go downstairs? Should I go downstairs now? Should I wait? Should I go downstairs now? Should I wait? And then I hear Mrs. Peach calling us like, are you guys ready? Let's go. And so we're all going downstairs, and I hear Mrs. Peach goes, oh, so you are coming? And I'm like, yeah. And then her friend, we'll call her, we gotta make a cool name. We'll call her Nars. So Nars is like, yeah, she said she was gonna go when you asked earlier. And she's like, oh, I didn't hear her. She's like, how did you not hear her if I heard her? And so she like tells her and stuff like, oh no, it's because like I really didn't hear her. And she's like, it is mala, you know, tells you like you're mean. And I'm like, okay, she clocked it. Like she's not one of those people who are like act like they're oblivious to it, you know? She like, they kind of like laugh whatever, and then kind of like ha 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 ha, like, or like hee hee ha ha with each other. And then we all go to the car, and we have to go in separate cars. So I let everyone load up, so like whoever has like a free spot, like I'll go. Like I'm not the one to like, oh, I'm gonna try and get the spot, so that I don't know, I just don't want to go to a spot and then be like, what are you doing, you know? Because like there has been situations where they're like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And like you just feel stupid, you know? So I wait until everybody and everyone loads up, and then Nars is like, Mija, you can come with me. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I go in her car with Mrs. Peach, and y'all, Miss Peach just looked like annoyed, like just like that. And so we're driving, and she's like kind of like curious about like, oh, like who are you, you know, like how did this and how did that? And so like I'm like answering her questions, and like she's like, oh, like, you know, you're really pretty, and like, you know, looking at my hair. And I'm like, oh, thank you. She's like touching my hair and stuff, and like we're like talking, and she just seems like really nice, you know? And she's like, oh, like my daughter and you are like around the same age. And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, you know, she has a little attitude. And I'm like, yeah, you know, like laughing. And she was just like really nice. So we go to this pizza place, and they're like paying and stuff, and I felt so stupid, because they said they were trying to be funny, but like they were just being hateful, because I wouldn't do this, but not everybody is the same. So they're asking like, oh, how many of the party? They're counting everybody, and then they're like asking like, oh, are you gonna want the buffet? And I'm like, yeah, like whatever. And then like, you have money? And like they all started like laughing amongst themselves, trying to be funny, you know? And then I'm like, oh yeah, you have my money, you haven't paid me yet. Ooh, Mr. Peach was pissed. He's like, I was just joking, like that. But he's like, pero si quieres, you know, like if you want to play like that, I'm taking it out of your check. And then Nars hits him like, ay, cállate. Like she was just giving you what you were giving her. And he's like, no, está cabrona. Don't let her fool you. Don't let her fool you. But I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what am I supposed to say? Like, and so I was mad at myself. Like, okay, I guess I don't know how to play. But I've said this so many times. I don't know how to play. Y'all, this foundation is nice. It's my first time playing with it. It's a soft matte one. That's pretty. Yeah, like, I don't know. Like, I don't know how to play, or I don't know how to, like, banter, because I'm always like on defensive mode. Were they playing? Were they not? Like, why were they doing that? Like, they didn't ask anyone else but me. Like, they didn't ask Nars's kids, like, are you gonna pay? Like, you know what I mean? And it just made me feel like a burden. And I was like, why did you come, Lex? Like, God. So everyone starts finding places like to sit down and stuff. All the kids go in one, and I have to sit with the adults, and I'm like, great. And they're like, make room so Lex can sit down, you know. And they're like, but there's no room over here. And they're like, Alex, how come you didn't go faster, you know? And I'm like, I don't know, because I felt so weird and out of place, y'all. Like, I don't know how to explain it. I felt like weird. So I was like, so they're like him and hawing with each other, talking, and Nars asks like, oh, how's Will tomorrow? They're like, oh, don't even get me started. And she's like asking me like, you know, like, what do you think of Will tomorrow? I'm like, oh, she's nice people. They all start laughing because they know like I'm just lying. And I'm like, what? Like, it just felt so weird. I hate being in those uncomfortable situations. Like, what do I say? Like, yeah, she's a stupid, ugly bitch. Like, you know, all of that, whatever. Like, I wanted to, and they're like, it's fine, like, you can tell us. And like Mr. Peach and Mrs. Peach were like in like a happy mood. I don't know, maybe because Nars was just like good vibes. But oh, y'all, okay, I'll use some about them. But they were just like really just, I don't know, like taking her in, and like, you know, just listening to her. She was like really nice. It goes on, and I felt so weird, you guys. Like, when we went to go get like more food and stuff like that, like for the buffet, I would have to pass Sam, and anytime I would get close to Sam, or like if we were getting pizza around the same spot, she would like kind of giggle with those girls. And oh, I was just like wanting to fight so bad. Like, bitch, you fake. Like, you so fake. Like, what's wrong with you? Like, and I hated feeling like that. I hated feeling like I had to put on like a fake persona to like make friends or like be somebody else. Like, of course I don't expect them to flock to me, you know. I felt like I couldn't even like, oh, like anything, because like they were already like like, I don't know, they were just like amongst themselves, right? So I was already like nervous about that. And we go and sit down, and as I'm going to sit down, like, I feel like I was like hearing things in my head that they were probably saying. Like, they probably did say them or didn't say them, but like I was like, yeah, like, I could hear like, yeah, she wears that all the time. And I don't know if I was like hearing it in my head or like she really was saying that, but like I was like, I could feel my heart in my ears, and I was like mad, like, why are you even here, dude? Like, they don't like want you here. Like, it's so like, you're just like the punching bag. Like, what are you doing here? Even the little kids were chilling with them, you know, with the other ones. So
Mom, did you eat your Lunchable in the RV?
no, I didn't have a Lunchable.
That's why I thought you ate it.
So yeah. You blamed me?
Huh? No.
Oh. So yeah, like I could hear that they were talking about my clothes, and I'm like, did you hear that? Did you not? Because sometimes when you feel like you're like have so much anxiety, you feel like you be hearing shit that like really isn't being said, and you're just like, you said this, and I'm like, what the fuck? I didn't. And so it just like, it's like a constant like thing in your head, you know. And so like I wasn't hungry anymore because like I feel like I made myself sick. So even though I got 3 plates of food, I got shit because they were like, that's all you're gonna eat? Why did you come out then if you weren't gonna eat more? And I'm like, oh no, like I ate a lot. And Nars is like, yeah, she made her plates full. And they're like, nah, she just wants to, she didn't want to miss out and stuff. And she was like, déjala, like to leave me alone and stuff. And they were like, she's fine, we're just playing with her, she's just sensitive. And then she was like, well, yeah, because she's a girl. And she kind of like just like touches my back and stuff. And she was just like being nice. She was being normal, you know, like what the. And so they were kind of laughing. She was like, no vas a comer, like you're not gonna eat anymore. I was like, no, like I'm full. And she was like, you know, que bueno, like you ate good anyways. And I'm like, yeah, I think so. Because I did, y'all. Like, it was good food. I just got full. Like, damn, bitch. How do like nice people know these motherfuckers? Like, honestly, Honestly, man. Finish, and then we're going in the car, and I thought like, okay, I'm gonna go in the car that I came in. Like I came in with Nars and I came with Peach, you know? And as I'm getting in the car, Mrs. Peach is like, gases. And I'm like, oh, I'm getting in the car. She's like, why? Like, it was just like so weird. And Nars was like, déjala, like, él es mala, like, stop picking on her. And then Nars told me, like, it's just because you're pretty. And Mrs. Peach laughed where it made me feel like it wasn't true. How she laughed like such a hyena. And it was like uncomfortable where like Nars like looked at her like, you know? So she was like, I'm just kidding. She was like, are you just kidding? Because I don't even know if you're kidding. And that was her, like her prima, whatever, her friend telling her that, right? And so we get in the car and Nars is asking like we should stop somewhere to like they can get some drinks and stuff to take home. And Peach is like, yeah, but we got some at the house. And she's like, no, I want the other stuff, which I'm thinking are just like the wine coolers. So they stop and they get some drinks, and I'm told to stay in the car. So I'm like, okay, yeah, like I'm gonna stay in the car, like I'm not gonna, you know, bug you. So I stay in the car, and the ex is messaging me saying if we can talk and stuff, that he didn't know that he grabbed me so rough, and that he was just like in a hurry yesterday because he had to pick up his mom again, with using his mom as an excuse, which we both knows is lies, and you a liar, and you're a baby mama boy sucking on her titty. I'm trying to ignore him because I'm just like, I know that it's toxic, and I feel like it's a setup where I honestly felt scared that what if I meet up with him and like he does hurt me this time or something, like even more, and I don't come back out. Because there was times where we got into like really, really nasty fights, you guys, where I felt like this is it. This is it. Especially when he purchased his gun. I was like, yeah, this is it. I was like scared where I'm like, no, it's not enough time. Like we need more time like away from each other because he's probably still like really, really hot. So I'm like being very like, not texting him like right away, but like very like, or whatever, you know? Bitch. So they come back to the car. Mars asks me like if I'm gonna drink with them and stuff, but she was just being like funny. Like you see, like that's joking, you know? Where she's like laughing like it's joking, and it's not in front of like a huge audience. Like it's just different. Like I don't know how to explain it because like the Peaches swore that they were like stupid, that they didn't understand. This is gonna probably be a long story time because I don't want to leave y'all hanging. So we laugh, ha 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 ha. We have like a little funny like moment, you know. It's funny. I think it's funny. She thinks it's funny, and I'm like, yeah, maybe one or two, you know. They're just playing with her, whatever. And Peach is like, what? No, you're not. Like, oh. And Nars is like, we know, like just joking around, you know, because like it's funny. Like it's like one of those things like you're just being salty because one, you weren't part of the joke, or two, because you hate me. But it's one of them. Both of them probably. Then we go home. They put the beers in the fridge, get them all ready. Everyone's like winding down a little bit. And Nars tells me like, Alexis, go up with the girls and stuff. And I'm like, no, I'm just gonna go to the room. And then she's like, no, go talk to the girls. And she calls down the girls. And I'm like, that's embarrassing, because I don't like it when people make people play with people. It's just awkward. Like obviously we ain't vibing for a reason. Like don't force it. It's just weird, you know? Like not funny, haha. Funny, weird. And that's how I felt. I was like, don't do it, because they didn't want to talk to me. It's fine. Don't make them. I call the girls down. The girls come down and they kind of just like look at me, and she's like, play with Alexis, like invite her too. And they're like, okay. And the one that just seems like a bitch was like, why? And the mom's like, because I said so. And she's like, okay, but why? And she's like, are we gonna keep going? And so she stops. Sam starts to laugh, and she's like, do we have to have her go upstairs? And Mr. Peach is like, hey, you know, not to be mean, whatever. And it was so awkward. So we all go upstairs, and they really thought I was gonna follow them in that room. No, they go in their room and I just go to my room, and Sam starts laughing, and I just wanted to like reach that bitch from her hair, spit in her face, and just fight her, because it was just like, dude, like, you pathetic. Like, you really, 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 really are pathetic, because just because like you think just because you got an audience that like you're cool, but you're not. Like, you're not cool. Because remember, bitch, you're the one asking me like, what are we gonna do? Can we go hang out with your friends? And I never made you feel how you're making me feel. So I hate bitches like that. Don't be like that. Don't be that type of bitch that does that, because that's just stupid. Like, you make yourself look so dumb. Like, you really do. So it just makes you look stupid, and you just seem fake as hell, like, all the time. Like, you just fake. So I go and chill in my room. I leave the door open. I don't close it, just in case like Mrs. Peach wants to come in and like yell at me or something. She don't have to come in. She don't have to like knock on the door or whatever. Here comes another one. So I can just hear them talking, just him-and-hawing with each other. And I hear one of the girls saying, she seems nice. And I'm like, yeah, they're talking about me. Like, they have to be talking about me. How aren't they talking about me? Like, it's too obvious to not be like about me. Then I hear Nars come upstairs with Mrs. Peach, and I hear them go, where's Alexis? And they're like, oh, I don't know, she got mad and she went over there. They come in the room, and I'm sitting there, and Nars is like, how come you don't go in the room and stuff? And I was like, oh, I don't know, I just don't want to, like, if they're talking about something, I don't want to, you know, be in their mix and stuff. Like, I'm just letting them catch up. Like, maybe we'll hang out tomorrow. And Nars is like, oh, okay, yeah, I can see that. And Peach tells me like to clean up and stuff, like, why is the room such a mess? And I'm like, oh, okay, sorry. Guys, it was not a mess. It was her mess. And she just didn't want to look messy in front of Nars, I guess. I don't know. They just kind of like just sit there a little bit and kind of like, she's showing off her stuff, like, yeah, this, yeah, that. And they both like look at me, and I'm like, oh, like, I'll go downstairs, because it was just like, they're like both looking at me. So I'm like, oh, okay, I'll go downstairs. So I go downstairs, and Mr. Peach is there, and he's like asking me like, oh, so what do you think of them? I'm like, oh, she seems really nice. And then he's like, yeah, right. She always brings like the best out in Mrs. Peach. And I'm like, oh, that's good. And he tells me that we're gonna go to like a little campsite and have like a little like bonfire, and like, you know, go swim in the lake and stuff, and that should be fun, right? And I'm like, yeah, that should be like a lot of fun. And he's like, good, like, you know, and then maybe like some stress, you know, will be good, like, you know, like, come off of me, you know, and I really should like respect myself and not let people touch me, put hands on me. And I'm like, oh, okay, we're talking about what's his face. So I'm like, yeah, like, just listening. As soon as they come down, I go right back up, because I'm like, I'm not dealing with this shit. This is weird. So as I go upstairs, Sam is like, Alexis, come here. And so I peep my head in, and she's like, come hang out with us. I'm not gonna lie, I felt like special, because I'm like, oh, I'm like, okay. And so I go in there, and they start to like laugh, which like makes me feel like pretty pathetic, because I guess I reacted like, oh, okay, or I don't know, maybe it was just in my head, but like I really felt stupid, you know. And we're just all talking. Sam is telling me that, did I hear that they're gonna go to the lake? And I'm like, yeah, I was just talking to Mr. Peach about it, and he was telling me about it. She's like, oh, so you're gonna go? And I was like, well, I think that was an invite. I hope. And they start laughing. It's so weird and triggering, y'all, being laughed at. Like, what the fuck is so funny? Like, why are y'all laughing so much? And so I was trying so hard to like keep it together and not get defensive, because I did want to hang out with them. Like, I didn't want to be left out, you know. So I kind of just like looked at them like, you know. And she's like, well, if we do go, we should do this and we should do that, like what spots that we should like go hang out at. I'm like, oh yeah, that'd be fun. So like we were kind of like, oh yeah, you know, getting like excited with each other for a little bit. And then they were listening to songs and kind of like singing them, like, oh, I love this song, start singing them. And then I thought it would be cool for me to join in too. And as soon as I joined in, they were like, ah, like laughing. And I don't know if it's because like my voice sounded crazy or what, but like I really thought I thought I was hitting it, but like I guess I wasn't. This has happened too when I was with my cousin, and we were with one of her friends, and we were singing My Boo. And I remember like singing it too, and they were just like all laughing at me. And I feel like I got that a lot. And so like I don't know if it's because like I was easy to punk on, And I'm really, I swear to God, not playing like poor me card. Like it was really like a lot where like people would like laugh at me and I'd be like why? So like I started not to do certain things because like I feel like I was always like the butt of the joke. Like I remember when I started to like break dance too, I feel like when we would do that, like there was like always like my cousin and her friends that would like always laugh at me. And I really thought like I nailed the routine down. Like I really did. Like I spent hours and hours and hours and hours learning that certain routine. And like the bitch pointed at me and was laughing, but I was like, I thought I nailed it. And when I asked them, like, no, like for real, like what can I work on? They were like, nothing, like you did it fine, like chill. But it's like, why were you laughing? And then I remember when we finally threw hands because I was so tired of this bitch laughing at me. But I think it's because she knew that like it triggered me and it made me feel like insecure. But it was like so weird. And it was just like a constant thing of like laughing. And like even like certain areas on my face, I don't want to point to them, she would like poke at them and be like, why this and why that? I'm like, I don't know why I have that. And she'd be like, that's weird. Or like when like people would hang out with us, like, you see that on her face? Why do you think she has that? She doesn't even know why she has that. It's weird, huh? And they'd be like, yeah, and like laugh too sometimes. But I felt like it was so weird when I would get like laughed at. Like I really wanted to fight because I'd be like, whoa, it's so funny. Why? And I swear I'm not doing the poor me card. It was really like, it was a lot. Like I don't get it, you know, like why are you laughing? So I hate when my kids tend to do that to each other when they're trying to make the other one feel stupid. I nip that shit in the butt so quick because it's not cool, and it really makes you hold back from doing certain things because you don't want to get laughed at. And I don't want that. Like I always tell them, like, don't be ugly. Like that is so ugly. Don't be ugly. And they'd be like, what, mom? And I'm like, like that's no. Anyways, that part came on, and so like I was like, what the fuck? And so Nars came upstairs and she's checking on us, seeing what we're doing and everything, telling us like, oh, you guys better get some sleep because we are gonna go to, you know, to go swim tomorrow. And she's like asking the girls like, where are you guys gonna sleep? And they're like, oh, I'm gonna sleep with Sam. And Nars like, well, Alexis has a whole bedroom to herself, like maybe one of you guys can go bunk with her. And they're like, no. And she's like, why not? And they're like, because we don't want to. And I'm like, it's fine, I don't like sharing anyways. Like laughing, right? Nars got it. And so I was like, oh, like it was just so cool to see that like I wasn't being cringy or I wasn't being weird. Like it's just, it's very hard, y'all. Like I don't know how to explain it. Like I wish you guys could see, I wish I could take a chip out from my head and give it to y'all so you guys can see like what I mean. Because when I talk to Sam and I'm like, dude, why did you do this? Why did you do that? It like pisses me off that a lot of the times she'd be like, I don't know, or because I know it made you feel stupid. I don't know, dude. Like I honestly don't know. Or just like some lame excuses, you know. And like I know like my husband tells me to, like, you always want an answer for everything, but like I just do because like that like sticks with you when people do things a certain. How can I get this off? She like says her good nights and the girls are like night, you know, all that stuff. And so we're just sitting up, kind of still hanging out. We start doing truth or dare. We shouldn't have done truth or dare. It was truth or dare. And so the adults are already sleeping, the other child is already sleeping, the kids are sleeping, and it's literally just us. And we're being kind of loud, but not too loud. We have like a little bit of like the music going in the background, so it kind of muffles. And truth or dare. So we did like some stupid like truth or dare, go downstairs and do this or take this, or you know, stupid stuff, whatever. I'm gonna skip over all the other ones that we did, and we're gonna skip to the one where me and this girl go at it. It was truth or dare for us to go outside and to kind of like, you know, we're gonna name these girls. So the girl that I liked, we'll call her Lilo. She cool. And then the other girl, we'll call her Stitch because she would look crazy, okay? That's the one I was like mean mugging, whatever, right? So we have Sam, Lilo, Stitch, Nars, new characters, right? So we're doing truth or dare, do this, whatever, whatever. So we started getting a little crazy and we're like, hey, dare, I dare you to go outside and like, woo, right? I dare you to go outside and like, just like stupid things where it's like, why would you do that? And it's like, I don't know. Pretty much like all of us did it, and we weren't even thinking like, oh, the cameras, right? We were just being stupid and having fun. And one of the dares was to go steal one of the wine coolers and to go take some shots. So we were feeling a little like, but not too much. Like I feel like all of us, well, mostly me, we're like on edge where it's like we didn't want to do too much because I don't trust y'all, you don't trust me, that kind of vibe, right? So there was one where it was to like take off everything and like to run in the backyard, run back, that kind of thing. And I was like, oh, I don't want to do it. And Stitch was like, yeah, you look like a lame bitch, you like wouldn't want to do it anyways. And I got hot, y'all. I don't know if it's because like we had liquor or because like I was already tired of her like shit. But I tell her and stuff, I was like, you're not going to like reverse psychology me into like doing it. Like, you're weird as fuck. If anything, I just think like you want to see us like nude or something because you're the one who keeps coming up with these dares. And so she gets mad and she's like, are you insinuating something? And I was like, well, if the boot fits. And so we were just like going back and forth. Tell me why this girl and I were like face to face. And she kept telling me like to do something, that like I'm just like the weird one that like they had to like invite me and play with me because I was crying to like Mrs. Peach. And I was like, what? I'm like, what the f? And I was like, your mom is the one who wanted me to play with y'all. She's like, my mom? Now you lie. So like we're like in each other's face, literally like smelling each other's breath. And she was just like so like annoyed with me for some reason. And I was like, I don't know what the problem is. Like, for real, like you on some weird shit. Like, I'm not, just because I don't want to do the dare. And she's like, why don't you just go to bed? Like, why don't you go and do something? Like, we're gonna like continue to have fun. Like, go lay down. And I'm like, no. Like, I felt so weird saying no because she was telling me to, you know, to kick rocks. And I was like, no. I was like, what the hell? Just because I don't want to do that dare, like, why can't I do something else? And she's like, well, like, we don't even want to kick it with you anymore. And I'm like, okay, well, like, I'm not gonna go just because you said so. And then Sam is like, Alexis, just go. I was like, oh, for real? For real? And she was like, yeah, just go. Like, what the, like, why are you being weird? It was so weird, y'all. I was like I felt like I just got kicked in the gut. Like, if anything, I was expecting her to be like, don't be weird. Like, she's gonna stay. But she was on some like weird, like, I don't know. So I was like, all right then. And so as like I'm going to leave, like I check her with my shoulder, and it's because like I was ready to go. Like, I'm gonna check you with my shoulder, bitch. We're gonna go. Like, we just like get brought back and we start like pushing each other. And so like we're going at it. She's yelling at me. I'm calling her stupid bitch. And I'm like all up in her face. And I'm like, Alexis, just go. Like, why are you being weird? And I'm like, shut the f up, Sam. So like I'm yelling at Sam and yelling at her, and we are just like getting into it. Lilo is like, come on, like let's just go to the other room. Like, we're gonna wake up our parents and it's gonna be like a whole like drama. And I'm like, no, I'm like, your sister is weird. This bitch is weird. And so like we're like cussing each other out. And she's like, I'm weird, bitch, you're weird. She's like, they're over here fostering you, pathetic bitch. And so she was like being really mean. And like the whole time I kept thinking like, what the hell is Sam telling her for her to like not like me? Like, I'm actually pretty good. Just kidding. But like, no, for real, I was like, what the hell is she telling this girl for this girl to be feeling so like weird towards me? Like, it was like unnecessary, like how she was just like in my face. Like, it felt like, you know, when someone tells you drama and then you go and it's like you don't even know the full drama. Like, it felt like that. Like, I was just like, what the hell? Like, it was so much where I'm like, it can't just be because like we're both like, oh, because she's pretty, Lex, or, you know, whatever. I've told this story to like a few friends. It wasn't like if it was that. Like, I honestly don't think it's because of that. Like, I honestly think it's because like Sam was like in her ear telling her stuff, and like it was so awkward, y'all. Like, she was like in my face screaming at me, and like I don't know how the parents didn't wake up, or what I was say our parents, but I don't know parents, how they didn't wake up, because like we were like in each other's face screaming at each other. And I don't know if it's because like they wanted just to hash it out or what, but like we were yelling, and I was fuming, y'all, because I was like, what the hell? And it literally felt like it was 2 against 1, because like Lilo wasn't really in it. She was just like, come on, like she was like saying like, and I felt mad too, like how they're like, why are you just gonna like be cool with me and like put me to sleep, or like go over there, like it's fine, like go with them. Like, it felt awkward. Like, I felt like, what the f, because all of them were just like gaining up on me on some weird shit. Like, it honestly felt like that, and I just like wanted it to end. Like, I would have felt better if it was just like, I'm peace out. But it felt awkward because how they were like, go, you know? Sorry, y'all, I had to go and straighten my hair. We're literally, back to the thing. So we're literally screaming into their face. She's upset because they expect me to shut up. Like, shut up, it's getting loud, shut up. You're gonna wake up my parents. And I was like, then bitch, you shut up. Like, you shut up. And so she was throwing things in my face that like only Sam knew. And so I really hate that. I hate when like when people get together and then get like their backup. They want to be like, oh yeah, this, that, you know, Jill and Jack went up the hill type thing. And it's just like, you are such a coward. So I started focusing my attention on Sam, and I'm like, dude, and you're a bitch. Like, you got no balls. You're over here telling all my business. Like, if you haven't done anything grimy, you're a dirty bitch. And so I'm fighting with her. She's like, don't start with me. I said, oh, and or what? If I don't, and what? And so I'm just like pissed because I'm like, I don't care. I don't care if I get my shit by Lilo, by Stitch, and I don't care if I get my shit by Sam. Like, at this point, like, y'all just fake. So we're just yelling at each other, and Lilo is like, come on, let's just go to the other room, let's just chill, we can watch a movie. And I'm like, no, like, I don't want to hang out with you either. And I didn't mean to be mean to her, because she, you know, just took it and she was like, okay. But I was just so hot, and I hate when people interfere in arguments or like try to de-escalate it sometimes, especially when I'm like so hot, because these girls really thought that like they could pick on me and make me feel stupid or some kind of way. So my eyes start getting watery, not because they're hurting my feelings, but because I'm getting hot. So stupid Stitch wants to be like, oh, she's gonna cry, and Sam starts laughing. So they both start laughing, and no, I smudged. Damn it, y'all. Did y'all see it? It smudged right there. Nope, right here. Yeah, that mascara, how annoying. So they're all laughing, like, she's gonna cry, and Lilo's the only one who's quiet, and she's like, you guys stop, like, it's not funny, stop. Like, and she's telling Stitch, like, I'm gonna wake up mom, stop. And so I don't know if it's because like I was a little bit intoxicated, but I was like, fuck all y'all. I was like, fuck Sam, like, after everything that we've been through. And then Sam was like, you sound kind of gay. And I was like, oh, really, bitch? So it just felt like it was just like so much. So I go up to Sam and like I push her like hard. She flies on her bed and she acts like she's gonna get up, but she's getting up pretty slow. And then Stitch comes and she pushes me. She's like, well, you think you're cool because you, and it starts like pushing me, and I'm pushing her back. And then we just start to tussle. We literally just start to like fight, going in circles, all on the floor. I don't really remember like feeling like pain when she was hitting me because my adrenaline rush was so high. I'm hitting her, and I'm trying so hard not to hit her in her face at first because I was like, I'm gonna get yelled at. And I kept thinking in the back of my mind, like, the Peaches are gonna be pissed. But once she like got me a good one in my face, like my head went back, I was like, game on. And I had my legs wrapped around like her like arm / head, and I was just like beating on her, whittling on her. And then that's when you just see Mr. Peach and Mrs. Peach and Nars running, what the, and like separate us. Mr. Peach has me like in a weird position where I was like, get the off of me, you're touching my boobs, because like he was there was no need for it. And he like kind of chucked me, and he's like, what the hell's going on? And yeah, like I was pissed, and I was hitting her out of like so much anger. And she like says that, she's like, I wasn't even hitting you that hard, why the f did you hit me like that? And so she's getting stupid, and Nars, I guess, knows what kind of daughter she has, because she asks her like, what did you do to Stitch? She's like, what did you do? And she's like, nothing, we just didn't want to hang out with her anymore. She got in her feelings. And I guess it kind of was like that. Like, if you want to be like technical, I guess that's how it was. It's not because like they didn't want to play with me. It's like y'all try to like play me out and like laugh at me. That's what my problem was. Like, it wasn't because y'all didn't want to be my friend. It's like y'all thought y'all could be mean to me and like think I was gonna take it. And so Mr. Peach looks at me and he's like, that's why. Lilo goes, no, that's not why. They were being mean to her and they're like antagonizing me. And so Nars grabs Stitch like hard and was like, let's go clean up your face, and takes her to go clean up her face. Nars gives me a really ugly look, which it was 100% valid because I hurt her baby. And I feel like everyone was getting like consulted, like, you okay? And I was just sitting there like a little gremlin, you know? I should have been named Stitch. Because I was just like, I was hot, y'all. Like, And it felt so good to get into that fight with her. This color is so cute. Look at that color. That is so cute. It felt good to get into that fight with her because I had so much anger. And at the same time, that is so cute. And at the same time, I guess it wasn't like fair because like I was low key in my mind fighting that piece of shit, you know? But like when I tell you I had that bitch and I was just like hard, y'all. Like, just kidding. I like to fight with elbows, so that's something my mama tell me. So anyways, never fight with someone that got nothing to lose, because I really, like, what did I have to lose? Nothing, you know? And I felt really embarrassed because I embarrassed the peaches like really bad. Yeah, and Sam was like, she's a psycho, you should have seen her. And I was taking that as props. Like, yeah, you saw me? Did you see me? You see me? I got good. You see that? You see that? Take notes, bitch. You're next. Like, you know? And she's like, she's psycho. Like, she wasn't playing fair. And I was, just because I got her in the position that she couldn't got me in. It's fair. So anyways, Mrs. Peach is like, let's just come right here right now. So I was like, ugh. So I go into the room that I'm staying at, and Lilo follows, because I guess like Lilo was like, you know, be nice. And she like tells me like what happened, and then I tell her like, okay, like we were doing like truth or dares. Like I told her everything, like everything. We were doing truth or dares at first, and then it kind of escalated because I didn't want to do a certain dare. Then like they told me like, okay, then don't play with me. And then I, you know, was going to leave, but they wouldn't stop laughing. They were like being mean to me. And then Lilo's like, yeah, you know, like agreeing, like, yeah, that's what happened. And then Mrs. Peach is trying so hard to like be nice to Lilo, but you could tell she wanted to tell her like, get the out of there. She's like, yell at her, you know? And she's like, and that's what happened. I'm like, and that's what happened. I did push Sam. I shouldn't have pushed Sam, but I was upset with Sam because Sam wouldn't stop. And she's like, yes, I know. Like I already know how she gets. Like, she's like mad, you know? And so she calls Sam in, and Sam's like, she just started attacking me. And then Lilo's like, no, she wasn't. She just went up to you, pushed you that one time, and that before I could even like keep going to her, then Stitch got in, and then me and Stitch started going at it. And so she was like, no, that's not what happened. Like, Lilo, you just like her because da, 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 da. And it's like, and Lilo's like, I don't even have to like her. Like, it's just like, I don't even really know her. And I was so glad that like Lilo was still like she was being like normal and like saying what really happened. Like, even though it was wrong for me to put my hands, don't never put your hands on nobody, y'all. Don't put your hands on nobody. I felt like it was valid because they wouldn't stop. Like, they were literally like kept poking me. And when I finally was like, what, bitch? Like, they, you know, and oh well. So then we get the story of like, okay, this is what happened. Mrs. Peach yells at Sam like ugly, tells her like she's tired of her shit. She's always causing problems, that it's not just me causing the problems, that it's her too. Sam's like, I didn't even hit Stitch. And she's like, it doesn't matter. That like it wouldn't have happened if like she wouldn't have like in like, you know, kept like making the situation worse. And so she's like telling her like, this is some bullshit, and kind of wants to get like mouthy Mrs. Peach. And Mrs. Peach goes hard, where like everyone in the room was like, and Sam goes crying to her room. And I'm like, oh, because I'm thinking like, I hope she don't think she could put her hands on me, because like I'm still running on adrenaline, and I'll beat your ass right now, bitch. Like, that's how I was feeling. So I just kind of like got kind of quiet, because I'm like, you know, she got me fucked, but she going over here like just handing those out. Like, she better not hand it over here. I better not catch that. Like, I was like really like getting ready, like, oh, you know. So Nars comes in the room and she asks me like, Alexis, can you tell me what happened? And so I tell her what happened. And she's like kind of nodded her head, and she's like telling me like to not put my hands on her daughter again, and that she understands like I was just defending myself, but like to keep my hands to myself, and that we could have resolved it a lot differently. That violence is not the answer. And I'm like, I 100% agree. Like, I apologize. And so she had her daughter apologize to me, and I'm not gonna lie, her face did not look cute. But I shouldn't have done it. But I was just so mad because like she kept trying. Like, she got me good, y'all. Like, she got me good. Like, my nose was bleeding and stuff, but like I feel like I got like some really good licks in. But yeah, if anything, like we like both beat each other. That was like good amount. I just got like the good spots, I guess, you know. Nars is like telling me like, you know, if I'm okay, and I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. When Stitch apologized to me, she's like, I'm sorry. Like, even looking at me, and her mom's like, say it correctly. She's like, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have put my hands on you, and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I'm sorry too. I'm sorry for doing that to your face. And she's like, like mad because like, and then Miss Peach is like, Alexis. I was like, I'm sorry for hitting you. And she's like, and then they had us like hug it, shake our hands and like hug it out. So weird because like I'm not used to doing that, you know. So it was awkward. And then Nars sat in the room with me. She kind of like talked to me about it, that like how come like I resort to violence and stuff, and like was trying to do like the kumbaya bullshit. And I was like, I was just upset, and we have like been drinking, and like they have been like nonstop like laughing at me. And then she was like telling me that like I need to control that, like it doesn't matter if they were like laughing at me and stuff like that. And I was like, I understand that, like it's like I pushed Sam, like I didn't mean to go for your daughter right away, like I pushed Sam and then your daughter got in my face, we started pushing each other. And she's like, I understand that. I could kind of see where she was coming from, but I was kind of like, bitch, shut the fuck up, don't waste my fucking time, like you're not my parent, like shut up, like I already apologized, like what more do you want? But I could see where she was coming from, sorta. Little X, you know. Me as a grown adult now, I'd be like, what? Just kidding. No, but it was just like such like a weird situation because I was not related to them like at all, so like it was just weird, you know. And like I got it. So everyone like leaves out of the room. Mr. Peach tells me like, Alexis, can I talk to you? And I'm like, yeah. So we go outside because he like wants to talk outside. So we go outside and we talk outside, and he says that he doesn't know that if I should go to the lake. And y'all, I was like, and I felt like so like, so I was like, he's like, I don't think it's gonna be a good idea, Alexis, if we take you, because then you're gonna think like this behavior is okay and this behavior is not, like we need to keep our family safe. Like if I was some like wild, like, oh y'all, like if I was bitch, and I was like, okay, like I understand that. And I was like trying so hard not to cry, and he's like, why are you going to cry? And I was like, because like it's not fair, like I feel like I do really really good. And then he was like, you think you do really really good, but you need to do better, that like I can't be rewarding this like behavior. And I'm like, okay, but like how come Sam gets to go? And then he's like, you know, like Sam's like, you know, the responsibility, like his kid. And I'm like, oh yeah, I forget, like I'm only family when it's convenient. And he's like, don't start, that like they just want to have a good time. So he was basically telling me like in the nicest way possible that they wanted to have a good time with like just their family. And so he was like, do you understand, like you need to, like this is why you gotta like be better and not do stuff like this. And then I was like trying so hard not to cry, and he's like, please don't cry because it's not gonna make me change it's not gonna make me change my mind. And I'm like, that's not why I'm crying, like I'm crying because like it's not fair. And he's like, life isn't fair, like you know, like things can't just like be given to us and stuff like that. He's like, you out of all people should know that. And I was so hot, y'all. So he didn't even know how to end the conversation because he felt so awkward. He like went inside and left me outside on the porch, and I was just like I felt so stupid because I'm like I felt weird. Should I just go to Tommy's then, like because like they're gonna be visiting for a while, you know, and like by the time like they're done visiting here, my mom is gonna be out and stuff. So I was just like so I cried outside, like I cried because I was just so mad at myself that like I like, and it looked so bad like if I couldn't be tamed, because like it was their first day, you know, and like me and her got into it, and it was just like so stupid that like I let my guard down and let them get under my skin like that. So yeah, I'm gonna leave it there. I love you guys so freaking much. Besos a todos. And I hope you guys enjoy story time. Make sure to give me a big thumbs up if you guys enjoy story times. It really, really, really helps me out and helps push the videos out to you guys when I do post. So please give me a big thumbs up. I would greatly appreciate it. I love you guys so freaking much with all my heart. And I hope you guys like the look. I hope you guys like the look. I really like it. I think it's so freaking cute and pretty. Like I really liked it. The only thing that didn't really, like, the payoff wasn't as good as the blue, but besides that, it's pretty. And the lip oils, really pretty too. I really like them. I haven't tried the red yet, but so far, pretty. I love you guys so much, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.